Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss Music Quarter 1, Module 1, the elements of the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque music. The history of Western classical music is time divided from medieval to contemporary period. Let us describe the elements of music by period from the medieval, Renaissance, and Baroque period. Let us start with the medieval period between 700 to 1400. So that was Salve Regina, an example of a Gregorian chant. Now, what are the characteristics of the Gregorian chant? Number one, it is monophonic. There is only one melody sung by male monks, and there is no accompaniment used, which means it is purely vocal. Number two, it is free meter. The Latin text determines how long each note should be sustained. There's no steady pulse, meaning irregular meter. The third characteristic is modal. The church modes was the existing scale used. The Lucrian is not used in the liturgy, as it was called the mode of the devil. Number 4 is usually based on Latin liturgy. Latin is used in the text since music is widely used in the sacred liturgy. Ecclesiastical Latin is the universal language of the Roman Catholic Church. Number 5 is use of gnome notation. This is an example of a Gregorian chant in gnome notation. So that was an example of a modern Gregorian chant entitled Masdan Mo ang Kapaligiran. Now let's proceed to secular music of the medieval period, the troubadour music. During the latter part of the medieval period, secular music, which was not bound by Catholic traditions, emerged. Most of these songs were performed across Europe by groups of musicians called troubadours. Now, what are the characteristics of the troubadour music? It is usually monophonic, sometimes with improvised accompaniment, and it tells about chivalry and courtly love.
Calma feliz, gioia amore sciaman, e allegrie te porte cortesia, calmo nova ricordi manentia, umilda schon terengespe.
That was an example of a troubadour music. Now let's proceed to the Renaissance period between 1400 to 1600. Characteristics of the Renaissance music. It is mostly polyphonic. Imitation among the voices is common. Use of word painting in text and music, like for example, if the text says climbing a mountain, the pitch rises. If the text says hell, the pitch goes low. Melodic lines move in a flowing manner, and melodies are easier to perform because these move along a scale with a few large leaps. Sacred music of the Renaissance period, the Mass. What are the characteristics of the Mass? It is polyphonic. It may be sang by a cappella or with orchestral accompaniment. The text may be syllabic, meaning one note set to each syllable. It may be pneumatic, meaning a few notes set to one syllable, or it may be melismatic, meaning many notes to one syllable. 5 main sections of the Mass. 1. Kyrie. 2. Gloria. The third one is Credo. The fourth one is Sanctus et Benedictus. And the fifth one is Agnus Dei. The 5 main sections of the Mass were written in Latin, except for Kyrie, which is written in Greek. Secular music of the Renaissance period, the madrigal. The characteristics of the madrigal is polyphonic. It is sang a cappella, through composed, and frequently in 3 to 6 voices. Now let's proceed to the Baroque period between 1685 to 1750. Characteristics of Baroque music. Melodies sound elaborate and ornamental. The melodies are not easy to sing or remember. Primarily contrapuntal textures with some homophony. And the fourth one is dynamic contrast, meaning alternation between loud and soft. Next is music genres, like concerto, a form of orchestral music that employs a solo instrument accompanied by an orchestra. Letter B, concerto grosso, which is a form of orchestral music during the Baroque period, wherein the music is between a small group of solo instrument called concertino and a whole orchestra called tutti. Fugue, a contrapuntal piece developed mainly by imitative counterpoint. It is usually written in 3 or 4 parts with a main theme called subject. The entire piece grows mainly from a single brief tune of strong musical character. Letter D, oratorio. It is a large-scale musical composition for orchestra and voices that incorporates narratives on religious themes. Unlike usual theatrical works, this is usually performed without the use of costumes, scenery, or action. It is usually written in the native language for the intended audience. An example of this are Handel's Messiah, Samson, Israel, and Egypt, Bach's Christmas Oratorio, and Haydn's The Creation. Next is chorale. These are musical compositions that resembles a harmonized version of hymnal tunes in the Protestant church during the Baroque era. Next is orchestra consists of strings and continuo. Harpsichord and organ are the keyboard instruments that are commonly used. And the new forms, the binary, ternary, ground bass, and fugue. And that's it for Module 1 of Music. Let's proceed to the next lesson, which is the Module 2.